What I'd like to talk to you about today is your self-care in ministry. Self-care can be extremely underrated. We tend to think of it as being selfish when we ought to be selfless and serving others. Yet in order to serve effectively, we need to take care of ourselves. Let's take a look at Mark 12, 30 to 31 together. It's a commandment you will know very well, and there's one part of it that we pay a lot less attention to. Love others as we love ourselves. Why do you think Jesus asks us to love others as we love ourselves? When you love someone, you naturally want the best for them. But wanting the best for ourselves is not about ego, but wanting the life in all its fullness that Jesus promises those who follow him. What do you think happens when we neglect ourselves or fail to love ourselves? The love we have available for others also decreases. And given that ministry always involves others, it is then that we are on a slippery slope and our capacity for effective ministry diminishes. So what are our key relationships and why do they need work? Firstly, we need a relationship with God. In Hebrews 4:16 it says, "Let us then approach the throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need." How often are we approaching that throne? Is God the person we most enjoy spending time with? How's your relationship with God right now? I'm not saying that to make anyone feel guilty, but so that we can be honest with ourselves about our primary relationships. If we need to work on it, it's important we honestly know ourselves. You will know the usual ways you connect with God: reading the Bible, in prayer conversations, worship, in sacraments, and you will also know what feeds you most. Jim Putman, in his real-life discipleship book, says that a spiritual child asks, "How am I going to get fed?" But you who are spiritual parents need to know how to feed yourselves. Missing a meal from time to time won't have a big impact, but missing months of them will. You will know very well that those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. But some of us are not really wired to appreciate waiting, even when it's waiting with intent. God has provided his spiritual resources for us, but it's up to us to access them. That's our aim, isn't it? To be so satisfied by God that our lives overflow with living waters to people around us. The next area we should think about is our friends and family. For those who don't have close family, friendship groups become essential in that role. 11 years ago, I arrived in New Zealand as a single person and realised I didn't have anyone I could call a close friend, although I was friendly with many people, and I actually had to make a conscious effort to develop my friendships. What are you and I doing to maintain our family and our friendships? And also that these friendships are for mutual growth, not merely as an outlet for our pastoral ministry. It seems obvious, but if we don't have strong support networks for ourselves, and if we don't pull our weight for those who depend on us, again, what would you think the impact on your ministry would be? The third relationship, as we've already mentioned, is with ourself. What are we doing to ensure our physical well-being, our mental acuity, and our emotional base? We know the relationship with physical well-being affects our minds, but when we're tired, it is often the first thing to go. Taking a little time out now to prepare can save a whole lot of trouble down the road. So where do you spend your time, and is it working for you? Also, a final note that ideally you would have someone for pastoral care who is outside of your church and whatever system you're working in. You may have someone like that already, but it is good to have someone lined up before you need them, because finding an appropriate person at short notice can be really difficult. As always, prevention is better than an ambulance. For people who are used to being leaders and competent people, asking for help can be the hardest thing in the world, yet we all need help from time to time. Jesus asked for help right before the cross. It isn't a sign of weakness, but a sign of wisdom. I have a tendency to say that smart people know to ask for help while still on the edge of the cliff, because you need an awful lot more if you slip off. John 15:5 tells us that Jesus is the vine. Stay connected and you will abound in good works for the kingdom. Run the race to finish well, not to crawl over the line. Remember, we're in this for the marathon and not for the sprint.